Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's their time and bandwidth. Today's game is Quake 2 the Remaster. After the Quake 1 remaster, we all knew it was coming, and now Quake 2's got the night dive treatment. Is this classic id shooter still worth playing today? Let's find out. Quake 2 is a 1997 id Software retro shooter that has now been re-released in an enhanced but faithful edition by Night Dive, and includes 5 campaigns for you to blast your way through. Quake 2 didn't start as a Quake game, but rather as a new IP from id to use their new engine, but they couldn't decide on a name for it before the deadline, so it became Quake 2. This is fairly evident from the game's setting. Gone is the Lovecraftian horror from the original game. Instead, it's a story about space marines fighting the Strogg, aliens that kidnap human soldiers and fuse them with metal to create warrior slaves. While the setting has changed, the basic flow of gameplay is mostly similar to Quake 1. You will still move fast, kiting around small groups of enemies, except in the new expansion where enemies come in droves. Armor yourself with your typical id arsenal: shotgun, super shotgun, SMG, minigun, electric gun, rocket, and grenade launcher, and BFG. Added bonus is the railgun and a few others that pop in from the expansion campaigns, but if you played an id game, you know what you're getting. A big difference is the enemies. There's a larger variety, but they're all generally humanoid, and many more of them are hit scanners, meaning circle strafing is replaced by popping in and out of cover more often. A neat change is most of them, when killed, will fall over and still fire off a few shots before dying unless you jib them, meaning this game is encouraging jibbing everything at all times, which I am 100% into. Another change is how the power-ups work. Whereas before you would just use them on pickup, now you can bank them into inventory to use as you wish. There have been a lot of quality of life improvements and small tweaks for this re-release. Movement, aiming, weapon swapping, and more feeling smoother, faster, and generally more in line with the modern id game. And speaking of improvements, the graphics have been updated while still being faithful to the original designs. For most of the original campaigns, the game is less linear, and a larger level is often split into subsections that you'll complete a side objective in before returning to the main area to continue. The game will notify you of these objectives as you play, and a new compass item is a much needed addition to help guide you through the world of grays and browns. And honestly, not much more to say about Quake 2. It's more of the same of this era of id games, and was the first id game put out without John Romero, and it does show, but it still has some new ideas of its own regardless. So what did I enjoy about this Quake 2 remaster? Well, the shooting still feels fantastic, even better with its improvements, with it being that classic id fast-paced action with tons of weapons and enemies. Additionally, the amount of content here is absurd. As mentioned, there's 5 entire campaigns, including a brand new one from Machine Games, as well as that great remake of the N64 version. And speaking of that, this feels like the gold standard for a re-release. It has a ton of content, there are improvements across the board, and there's even cool stuff like the original ads, models, and even demo levels from E3 tucked in here. This is really a fantastic port. When it comes to the bad, for me, Quake 2's biggest issue is that it's consistently good, but never amazing. Everything is solid, but it does feel a bit paint by numbers id Software, unlike their previous games, which had some incredible highs. Additionally, level design does feel a bit all over the place when compared to Quake 1, with larger missions and multiple objectives, sometimes leading to confusion, although that new compass does help a lot with that. And lastly, this game looks really samey, even more so than the original Quake, with there just being a lot of brown or gray future space looking stuff everywhere, and there not being as much variety in the environments as we would want. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, and don't bother. While Quake 2 may not be as good as its predecessor in terms of id imagination, there is no denying this is still an incredible boomer shooter from start to finish. This is only enhanced by the incredible work Night Dive has done with this remaster, easily putting other remasters, like the GTA trilogy, to shame in how well it's been modernized and how much content is included. If you enjoy retro shooters, you should be playing Quake 2, full stop. And I didn't even mention the incredible multiplayer in this review, which you should be playing as well. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Are you going to play Quake 2? Did you play it back in the day? I actually never beat Quake 2 before this re-release, and this time around I played through all of the campaigns and had a great time. But let me know what you think in the comments, and then go out there and make sure you give Quake 2 a look.